I'm joined in the studio this morning by Nii Yarboi Annan. Good morning.
Good morning.
We brought you back just on the day of the budget, and nice to see you first of all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was like this one. I've been asking everybody to give me hope. Black stars.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll be paying attention to that.
Yeah, I'll be watching. We are playing two games. We can't lose both. We would need to necessarily. We must win one.
You are playing two games.
Yes.
What is the other game?
One in Parliament, one at Qatar.
So we have to win one.
It's certain we will lose the one in Parliament.
So the Qatar one has to be won.
Yes.
Okay. That's nice. That's nice. But let's go back to, before we go into what will happen in Parliament today, a few things. One, do you disagree with Professor Butchie when he says we are perilously close to a catastrophe?
He couldn't have put it in any better form than he said it. And in fact, 2023 is between for this nation's economy. 2023 fiscal and monetary policy will decide whether we go into absolute catastrophe or we stay alive.
The fiscal and monetary policy will determine whether we head into a catastrophe or we stay alive. Why do you say so? If
you look at where we are, we find ourselves in a very, very difficult place. Has the economy gone bad? Yes, the economy has gone bad. Okay. Is there hope? I don't see one. Based on the way we have managed things so far, I do not see any hope. 3, do investors have confidence in this economy? No, there is none left. Are businesses going to thrive? No. A lot of businesses will be closing down by first quarter 2023.
A lot of businesses will go down by first quarter
2023. And therefore, production is going to be affected highly. What we need to ask ourselves is, how do we move on with all this happening at the same time?
Okay.
And that is what makes it scary. And so some of us, when we speak, it is not because we hate a government or we dislike somebody in government, but it is because you can see death. I don't see why you should run towards it. And that is what Dr. Butchie puts nicely in there, that we are heading towards catastrophe.
And at the time he was speaking, I think he has an idea that there was move towards the IMF. He had read the budget of 2022 and a subsequent mid-year budget review. I've taken your thoughts on both things. You still are not convinced that both will help us in any way. First of all, I want to go back to what you said. You said we can see death. You don't see why we should be running towards death.
Yeah.
Is that to suggest that you think the way we are acting is sending us close to that catastrophe that Dr. Butchie is talking about, that you call death?
Exactly. Look, you cannot be successful with fiscal policy when you do not have the support of the citizens. And government has lost support of the citizen.
Okay.
And that is a very big issue we need to address. And so I'm not surprised Dr. Butchie did say that we must work across the political divide in trying to calm things down and solving the challenges that we have on our hands today. Without that, it's a huge challenge already achieving whatever they intend to achieve with the budget 2023. We sat in this very studio before the budget of 2022 came in. I told you to fail. It is not different what is coming. It will equally fail.
You haven't seen it yet.
Yes, I haven't seen it.
Why would you say it to fail?
Well, there was no alternative before going to deciding to go to the IMF. There was no alternative.
Okay.
And that was clear. IMF was the only alternative to us.
Okay.
Then we all knew that IMF would not just jump and say, we have accepted you. Come on board. We will dole out monies for you to recover. We knew that the IMF would ask for certain things to be done in terms of fiscal consolidation.
Okay.
And they will want some evidence of you committing to such things.
Okay.
Therefore, I knew that there was no way we could have reached any agreement come November 2022.
Okay.
And it was clear. They kept saying that they are fast-tracking it and they will reach an agreement. I don't see any agreement in sight until first quarter 2023 has gone past. And that is what is very risky. We would want to go into this this coming year, we want to go into it showing that we can do it. We can raise more revenues.
Okay.
Maintain our appetite in terms of spending. And that is exactly our challenge.
Raise more to spend more.
Yes. Consistently from 2019, we have increased aggregate demand for so much that it has affected us, inflation and all that. And we needed to pull the brakes around 2021. We did not. We took an entrenched position and went on the same level of spending. We even broke the limits and spent beyond what we intended to spend.
Ghana's gold.
About 7
Radio gold.
billion of that. Meanwhile, we couldn't achieve the revenue targets we set. It has happened in 2022. If we repeat the same thing 2023, that is catastrophic. That is catastrophic.
Generating more and spending more. So,
In fact, in terms of the rates at which we are spending faster in rates than we are getting revenues in. So revenues are very slow in coming in, but our expenditure are very fast moving out.
are those expenditures avoidable ones? Do you have expenditures that you can avoid at this stage?
There is no unavoidable expenditure. When you take on a company like we recently heard about Twitter and all that, you would have to take a decision, especially when there are financial challenges, whether to save the company or to save the people in the company. And at all times, you must take a decision to save the company, because once the company is saved, at the expense of even the people, then you know that tomorrow, when a company is back to its feet, you can bring those people back.
Okay.
But if we allow the company to die, the people will die as well. And that tough decision is what they keep playing with. From 77 billion revenue target in 2021, we moved to 100 billion. A jump of almost 35% or so. And then you want to do the same thing again after what you did had failed. So we are not taking any cue from the historicals. We haven't put anything to stimulate the economy.
Okay.
Yet we are expecting more. The GRA has gone on the tangent of compliance, which is good.
Okay.
What is the results? You are sitting in the offices of companies. Are the revenues doubling up? Or they are where they are? That should tell you that the bracket in which you are operating is filled up. There is nothing you can get from that side again. Open up. Wider the tax net. Be innovative. Provide incentives. And let people come on board willingly to pay taxes. Even if they will not pay taxes, the culture of filing taxes should come with some incentives. Because today, we cannot solve our problems altogether. Today, no, it can't happen. But we must set ourselves up to be successful in the future.
Okay.
And that is where I think we are missing the point. They will come up with over 157 billion expenditure levels.
That's what you anticipate. That
Yes.
in the midst of this crisis,
Yes.
we're talking about over 157 billion.
Yes, yes.
We'll do more than we projected to do this year.
Yes, I don't see them pulling back. In fact, if we really want to have a good result by 2024, I mean, we should be looking at between 89, 90 billion expenditure level.
Cut it all the way to 89 billion, 90 billion.
Exactly.
Would that be enough to meet our obligations, especially when it comes to debt servicing, emoluments, or compensations? And then you're then talking about what you are sending to statutory funds and even the presidency, among others.
Decision making. That is all it takes. We have the ability to prune down most of these things you are talking about. The office of the president, projects that is involved in all that. We can pull out for the meantime so that we can have physical space to invest in the things that matters. The agri sector, food. Food inflation is what is pushing the headline inflation so high. If you want to tackle inflation from the fiscal side, this is what you need to do. Produce more food. Bring the price of food stuff down. And you will see a lot will change. Let's start finding substitutes for the imports.
Okay.
But if we should go on the same trajectory, like Dr. Butchie said, we are moving from crisis to catastrophe.
So first thing you expect is to a reduction in expenditure,
Yes.
way below 100 billion.
Yes,
If government is serious,
exactly.
reduce expenditure to 100 billion. What would they have to sacrifice?
A lot on our payroll. First and foremost, we are around, 33, 35 billion
Okay.
in terms of our payroll. Cut it down.
Are you talking about civil servants losing their jobs, or you're talking about they themselves cutting down their appointees and everything?
Part of it will come from cutting down on appointees. Part of it will come through being more efficient with our public and public service, and yes, you would have to.
You have to touch both.
Yes, you would have to touch both,
Okay.
because we shouldn't be doing more than 20.
Cut down from, because
The
as,
33, 35 to about 20.
wow, because as we speak now, there are meetings over the base pay.
Exactly.
We are hearing about 60% being what is being
Exactly.
proposed by organized labor,
Yeah.
which means that will drive up
Look,
compensations.
most of the flagship program are also full employment benefits, where you have to, because you have put up certain projects, you have to employ people and all that.
Okay. The secretariats that are set up around
Exactly.
some of these things.
Pull all that off.
So free SHS secretariat should go.
Everything.
One district, one factory secretariat should go.
Everything. Everything. Every single one of them has to go.
Okay.
This has happened in the history of the United States before. That was the shortest period of recession that they had,
Because they made the difficult decisions.
because they made the difficult decisions. Within a year or two, they are out of it. They pulled out of all the mall investments, and they redirected these resources to more productive sectors. And within a year, the US was back out of recession. We cannot continue to have a boom from 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and then we continue on the same trajectory to 2023.
Just spending more.
Then the best will not be an ordinary best. What we are experiencing is just the leakage of the best. When the real pressure hits it and the original best happens, then you would realize what it means by when we say the economy has gone into the state of catastrophe.
Then I'm guessing you understand the anger of a lot of Ghanaians this morning when they heard that the president is actually in Qatar for the Black Stars match. Sometimes those are expenditures that people say, oh, but that's not a lot of money. All those needs to go, I'm guessing.
Well, not just the expenditure involved. There are private Ghanaians who can do what he has done. I mean, fly over to Qatar to watch the Ghanaian team play and all that. But it shows how unserious the president is about our economic issues.
And serious.
Yes. If you do not care about the pulse of the nation at this period, then I don't think anything about this economy is a bother to the president. Even if what you really want is to be in Qatar, for the sake of what is going to happen today, and to win the support of Ghanaians for this budget, you should have acted differently and more responsible. This is highly irresponsible, selfish.
If you just join us, I'm in the studio with Nii Yarboi Annan, and we are talking about the budget that will be presented later today. Let's take a step back. For those who are wondering, why should we care about this budget? How would you respond to that?
Well, whether you do or not, that is a fiscal policy being put out there. And that will determine the environment we are operating.
Okay.
So whether you want to listen, you don't want to listen, you think it doesn't matter, I mean, that will determine how many balls of kenke you would eat going forward. That will determine how much probably you'll be paying for your fees in school. That will determine the cost of food prices. I mean, that is going to determine even the haircut you get. The cost of it will be determined by the fiscal policy. So it's about everything.
So it's important that we all pay attention to what comes out of this.
Extremely important.
In the midst of all this, but we'll go back to the issue of the haircut. Because one of the things that's trending on social media is data bank. Because a lot of people are finding out that investments that they've put into the various financial institutions, their investments have come down significantly. They've lost capital too. What is happening in that sector that people will need to know of, and how would you advise people approach it? Because people are rushing, I want my money back. What is happening and how do we need to respond?
Well, they take deposits and they put those deposits in investments, and whatever they get out of the investments, they share it to all of you.
Okay.
That's what data bank does. That's their primary object. And therefore, if those investments they are putting in at the primary market is failing, certainly yours will equally fail.
Okay.
We will not be irresponsible like the promoters of, or one of the promoters of Data Bank, whose public speaking probably had most of these banks being run on, and then they collapsing. We will encourage people who are deposited do business with Data Bank to ease down, not to panic, and not to run on Data Bank. I would say that yes, most of these investments are failing, and it will take fiscal monetary policy corrections to fix it, and they can get their investments back. And therefore, there is no need. In fact, this is not a good time to actually liquidate your investment, because you are going to lose if you do that. We will recover. We will come up stronger. And so they should relax so that most of their investment gets to maturity. That is what I would say. I think that we should all help so that they don't collapse, because when they do, it's a lot of Ghanaians that will be affected, not just the finance minister and his family businesses. And so I will appeal to people that this is not the best of times to actually liquidate your investment.
Okay.
And that is free advice for them.
So if you have money in there, don't rush to go and take
Don't
it out.
rush.
Leave it.
Because you will lose on your capital as well.
And that applies to all banks that run investment.
Exactly. All.
But what is, because if you say they invest the money, the investments are not doing, what type of investments are you talking about that these banks usually engage in?
Well, when Ghana issue bonds, the Euro bonds and all that, we have book runners here And so Data Bank can look at his portfolio and say, okay, I'm going to put 30%, all right, to buy the bonds of Ghana. And then the bonds today have lost about 50% of its face value,
Okay.
right? If you decide to go and take your money now, that is what you will get. You will get only 50% of what you actually invested.
Okay.
So this is not a good time. You would have to wait for recovery. Some of us who saw it faster, liquidated faster.
So when you saw it coming, you took it out very fast.
Yes, you see, when you invest, you must be able to monitor certain variables in terms of monetary.
Okay.
And if you don't do that, you risk losing out. So by January, the loss was quite minimal.
Okay.
And then the first quarter will be paid around April,
Okay.
somewhere mid-April. And so I said, look, let's get out of it now. So by January, we had applied to get out of it. We got out, and then it started dropping further.
Okay.
Because you watch the curves and you know that where it has gotten to, there is no point going up. It will only come down.
So you have to make time to monitor.
Yeah,
Pay attention to what is happening.
exactly.
For those who put in those kind of investment, what should they be watching?
A lot. You should be looking at the Central Depository Reports.
Okay.
I think BOG's websites normally will put it up. You should be looking at inflation closely.
Okay.
You should also be monitoring the activities of BOG in terms of what they report. What is broad money looking like? That's the M1. You should be looking at the M2, which is near money plus, let's say, broad money. You should be looking at all that because the trends will tell you what is going to happen in the monetary space.
And I think the best way to do this, if your money is plenty, those of you who put a lot of money into these investments, lots of money, sometimes that's how come you need advice. So maybe you need to speak to somebody like Nii Yarboi Annan so that if you are unable to understand what he's talking about, he can monitor for you and advise you when to keep it in, when to take it out. But he says this is not the best time to be rushing to all kinds of banks and saying, I want my investment. You lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that does not help for you. It will also not help the economy in the end. But so because the expenditure cut alone you've talked about is huge.
One other thing we need to talk about is the fact that Ken Oforiatta's image also is affecting Data Bank, and probably that's the reason why they will not want to risk having him leave office.
His image.
Yes. If today he should leave the Ministry of Finance, there will be more run on Data Bank.
Oh. Why? How?
Yeah. I mean, yes, he is no longer, I'm told,
Yeah.
he doesn't have interest in the game, but you know that this is his business. This is his baby or their baby. And a lot of them felt good and had confidence because he was the finance minister to actually invest through them. And so if he's out and people cannot tell what might happen, that would equally put out some panic in there, and people might run. And so his insistence to stay in there tells you
It's
that
also to keep his business
to keep his business floating.
Wow. But he probably be the ones reading the budget in Parliament today.
Yeah.
from what we are hearing, both the minority and majority will be there, seated and listening to him. They've been fighting to get him out. Yet he's the one reading the budget. The whole tussle to get him out, has it done some damage to his image that will affect the way investors see whatever he's reading?
Yes, his image and his companies. People are pulling away from everything Ken Ofori-Atta because they realize what is coming. And so that has affected him. So the pain he claimed he is actually experiencing, you should understand where that pain is coming from.
His businesses?
His businesses. It's not about the rest of us, our pain that he feels that is burdensome on him. No.
You're saying when he says he feels the pain, it's about his personal interest being affected.
Exactly.
But for us as Ghanaians, because you're also talking about the market, the way, because we still have bonds that are held globally. So him standing there, reading the budget, to what extent would that affect where we end up maybe in the next few months after that budget is read?
Well, the budget is just to appeal to the IMF. The budget they are going to read today is just to tell the IMF that we will be good boys, we will do what you say, we will raise more revenues, we would increase VAT from 12.5% to 15%. The e-levy, we would have to increase it to be able to meet the targets. The communication service tax, we have to increase it as well. Bring in some new taxes. About 7 revenue streams or handles they would have to touch to justify that they can raise about 30 billion more.
Okay.
Of somewhere 40 billion more.
Okay.
But I think they would budget around 129, 130 billion in terms of revenue.
Revenue that they intend to generate.
Exactly.
Okay. But you say the IMF will not be impressed with anything except they are seeing what you call fiscal consolidation.
Yeah.
And what would that involve?
That would involve that you bring down the overall deficit.
Okay.
You raise more revenues, you slow expenditure, and then you are within a range where financing will not be a challenge.
Okay.
Because you have a debt overhang already on your backs. So creating more is where you would have to checkmate. And therefore, to do that, you would have to bring the overall deficit either to we have done about, since 2020, we have done over 40 billion consistently. The deficits that we needed to finance.
Okay.
And we might have to slow it down to about 27 billion thereabout.
27 billion in terms of the deficit.
Yeah.
That is the so that's the difference between what we spend and what we generate.
Exactly.
We have to reduce it
Exactly.
significantly.
Exactly. So we are looking about close to 50%, 55%.
Because if you're talking about financing, then you're also talking about what we spend on our debts.
Absolutely. We are going to spend in 2023, we are going to spend about 3.2 billion in terms of debt servicing.
3.2 billion.
Yeah.
CDs?
Yes. No, dollars.
Dollars.
Yes.
Wow. So you have to multiply that by 14. Because the finance
You
minister
have
even
to
said,
use a projected rates.
yeah, because the finance minister even said, and that's one thing a lot of people didn't pay attention when he was asked what is the current exchange rate. He said, I can't tell because it's difficult getting the dollars. So it means that there's a higher rate that you have to multiply against.
Yeah.
So if you're multiplying even by 14 thereabouts,
Yeah.
oh, you're over 40 billion
Yeah.
for debt servicing alone.
Yeah.
How do we get down? How do we reduce that?
Haircut.
Oh. So more suffering for those who are investing in government bonds.
Exactly. I'll pay you today. I'm supposed to pay you today. I'll tell you I've rescheduled it. But I've rescheduled it without interest.
Okay.
I'll pay you your money tomorrow, but that will not attract any interest. So if we want to slow expenditure, that is one line. But I assume that the president is president's words are true, and his words matters in the setting of fiscal policy. This is his budget, and he's told us that there wouldn't be any haircut. So I'm expecting that we do the 43 billion debt servicing.
But he says that only for the information minister to come and tell us he was talking about principles.
I elected the president, not the information minister.
If somebody who has put his money at, let's say, the biggest two, EDC, Data Bank, and then they are realizing that because somebody says, I put over 65,000, by the time I got there, they were giving me 49,000. That's a haircut on his principal, is that not?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so the president's words in that circumstance does not matter, does it?
Well, it matters a lot.
Because you're getting the haircut.
The haircut you are getting, if you wait for your investment to hit maturity,
Okay.
you would get the full amount.
Okay.
If you decide to liquidate now, you would get a nice haircut.
So you trust the word of the president?
The issue is you put in a 10-year investment, and then in 2 years you have realized that things are going very bad. Inflation has overtaken the interest rate.
Okay.
Ghana's gold.
So
Ready to
look,
go.
let me pull back and invest somewhere else that I would make more than I'm being offered.
Okay.
That is what is happening. Now, if you decide to go and liquidate now, you would get the market value. Because nobody is ready to pick up what you let off.
Okay.
And therefore, it is the market value that will
Very
be,
good.
and not the face value of the investment.
So the hope is that the president's promise of a haircut not affecting the principal.
It will affect the principal if you choose to liquidate
Okay.
earlier than the maturity date.
So if I wait till the maturity date,
You should be able to get
the
everything.
principal.
Now, the issue is those that will mature in 2023, there is an eminent difficulty in paying those ones.
Okay.
And therefore, those ones are the ones that we will need to negotiate a haircut with them.
Okay. Except the people are ready to extend the maturity period.
Exactly.
That's still a haircut, that isn't.
Exactly.
They're not it.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, the CD you put in there does not have the same value as the CD currently.
Well, it's like you go to Cantonment to have a haircut, or you stay at Polygon and have a haircut.
Yeah, it's still a haircut.
It's still a haircut.
Wow. So for everybody listening to us, key thing, this budget, it will not be comfortable.
It wouldn't be comfortable.
It will definitely spell the beginning of difficult times.
Yes.
But you're also saying that depending on what the government does, this could be a shorter period of suffering or a
Yes.
longer period of suffering.
Yes. Yes. This suffering can go on till about 3 years. We can go through this for consistently for 3 years. Or we can choose to do it, shorten it, so that by 2024, 2025, we are already looking good. Not too good, but at least we can manage a few things.
And the key thing for you is government cutting its expenditure drastically.
Drastically.
Your prediction is that a lot of businesses will go down
Yes.
by the first quarter of next year.
Yes.
Is there anything that can be done to prevent that?
Well, fiscal monetary policy corrections is what can be done. There is no magic.
Fiscal monetary policy corrections.
Exactly.
Explain what you mean by it.
In terms of the fiscal policy, let's get out of things that don't bring us money.
Okay. Things that don't bring us money.
Yes.
Okay, so off the top of my head, it means that the approach to planting for food and jobs has to go.
Exactly.
Even one district, one factory.
You are scared of free SHS?
Oh, no, I'm coming there. So the approach to free SHS has to be stopped.
Yeah, immediately. We need to stop all these investments, recover, and then re-engage in a manner in which it will not put pressure on this economy. That is what we need to do.
Stop all of them.
Stop all of them.
And then perhaps, is it approach it immediately, or it means that we have to withdraw altogether?
Altogether, we need to withdraw from all those small investments. And there is no time. The more we delay in withdrawing from those investments, the more we run faster to death.
Well, let me ask, because I have two other issues. I don't know if you've seen the response that the finance minister has given to the parliamentary committee on the cathedral. And I recall vividly what happened at the committee level. In fact, Honorable Kujeto Ablakwa has always been confident that he has a document. And even he was putting the projected expenditure around 199 million Ghana cedis. What we are being told is that we spend over 300 million.
Yeah,
Ghana cedis.
339.
Yes, on that project currently. What should be happening after hearing something of that sort? Because if you go to the site, you are someone who works with a lot of businesses. You work on a lot of projects. If somebody says, I spent 399 million on physical infrastructure, and the pictures that we're seeing from that side is what we're seeing, what questions should we be asking?
Well, I think if you listen to the finance minister carefully, he did mention that he's confident about the project and its internal rate of returns. And I was shocked nobody asked for those documentations.
The projected...
Yes. And when? Because timing is of essence when it comes to money. When are we going to start enjoying that? You are able to invest 339 million in something that will not have any productive effects today or tomorrow. Yet, you have Saglame that needed 46 million, and you cannot find money for that. It is sheer wickedness. Nothing else.
So the question that you were expecting to have been asked the finance minister is that, do you have any work that you've done that shows that this is going to...
Exactly. We shouldn't just be, at this point where we have gotten to as a nation, we shouldn't just be told this project will be profitable. Show us your analysis, your underlying assumptions for which you came up with such analysis, so that we can measure you with that. You know, a lot of things were said at the committee that I felt that maybe the people who were there really had no business being there.
Okay. Which other things did they miss?
Well, when it came to this issue about reporting and all that, and the co-chairman made it look like it is not a law. You can deviate, you can do that. No, it is not true. The IMF government financial and statistical manual is clear. Honorable Atu Forsi mentioned 2014. The manual has been updated to 2016. And in that 2016 manual, it is clear what you need to do if you want to deviate or depart from the reporting standards. If Parliament or a committee of Parliament can publicly say that, oh, this is not law, you can do this, you can do that, then private businesses also have every right
To report in the same.
to report in the same manner and do things haphazardly like they have done. And that is chaotic.
But what is, because he says, I find that these expenditures are one-time expenditures. So I didn't find a need to include them in the calculation of the deficit. What's wrong with that response?
What is one time? Which one is one-time expenditure? Which of those will not run from one fiscal year to the other? Which of them? Which of them did we not know? Is it the financial sector cleanup? Or which one? The definition of debt and how it should be classified is clearly spelled out for the purposes of comparability. Now you tell us that you agreed with the IMF. So you work for the IMF only. The rest of Ghana, I mean, can go to hell. Or we do not rely on the financial information in the budget. It is what the IMF says. In fact, the development of the standard have history from the SNA and all that. And in fact, the 2016 states clearly that it has harmonized the standards with the International Financial Reporting Standards. And the whole minister and the co-chairman rubbish those standards as if they were nothing. And the rest of Ghana and even the people in the committee sat there, looked on as if it was nothing. That alone shows that he's incompetent. Because if I should refer to something or to refer to an income earned today, which must be recognized as income, then go out there and say that this income is deferred and therefore you cannot tax it, would that be allowed? Will the GRA not come and readjust and tax you based on those misreportings and even claim penalties for it? The fact that we are made ministers and we wield power does not mean we can be reckless. The man was even speaking recklessly while sitting there. And we are all looking on, laughing, as if it was a joke. Any investor watching that part will know that these guys are not serious. They don't know what they are doing. They don't know what they are doing. To tell us that You explained to the IMF and they agreed. And so what? When you deviate, you are told what to do. When you depart from the standards or the guidelines, you are told what to do. Did you do those? No. So what are we talking about? This is the clear evidence of the recklessness. And it is because maybe some of the people or all the people sitting there basically do not understand. But my greatest disappointment was that behind the finance minister seated Kendapa, who is an astute accountant. He saw nothing wrong with what was said and how the standards and guidelines were downplayed. If we can now have people who have principles in this country, this is how we'll run it. We will always run it down. Try picking it up and run it down again.
Well, Nii, we have to bring this to a close. And thank you very much for coming in. Of course, after the budget is read, Monday we would host you again. Sure. And then we'll put your predictions to the test once again based on the document that government will have put forward. Perhaps maybe they will do the things he said.
Maybe. We pray.
They will do. They must do. Well, thank you very much for making time to join us on the Good Morning Conversation for today. That's Nii Yarboi Annan. He's a financial analyst